Before a single product is sold or a service rendered, every entrepreneur faces a choice. They have to select a legal structure that defines their exact capacity for risk and sets the ceiling for their future growth. At the baseline is the sole proprietorship. In this model, the business is owned, managed, and controlled entirely by one person. This creates a total concentration of both power and liability. The proprietor provides all the capital, absorbs every risk, and in return keeps every cent of the profit. This structure is designed for a small scale. It thrives in environments where customers want a direct, personalized relationship with the person in charge. While total control is empowering, the growth of this business is strictly limited to the hours and resources of that single individual. To expand beyond those individual limits, the first logical step is to rely on the family unit. In India, this is formalized as the Hindu undivided family business. Rather than standard corporate contracts, this entity is governed by the provisions of the Hindu Succession Act of 1956. Control here is highly centralized. The property is managed by the senior male member, known as the Karta, who acts as the head of the family operations. Membership is granted automatically by birth rather than by investment, and the structure legally includes up to 3 successive male generations below the Karta. This traditional structure evolved significantly in 2004, when an amendment to the law granted women equal inheritance rights to ancestral property. The Hindu undivided family pools more capital than a lone individual, but its expansion is still geographically and socially confined to a single bloodline. To scale operations into a larger market, a business eventually has to look past its own relatives. This natural expansion leads to the partnership. This is a formal agreement between 2 or more people to conduct a lawful business under a shared firm name. A standard partnership requires at least 2 people and caps at 20 or just 10 for banking. Within these limits, capital, profits, and losses are divided according to the ratios set in the partnership deed. While this model finally shares the burden of risk among peers, the business's potential for growth is still restricted by these legal headcounts. We often assume that expanding a business structure is always about maximizing profit, but the law allows for a totally different objective. The cooperative society, registered under the Act of 1912, is a voluntary association built for mutual help and shared economic interests. Instead of relying on outside venture capital, these societies raise their funds entirely from their own members through the issuance of shares. This structure is the backbone of housing, consumer, and credit cooperative societies, where the goal is to provide a service rather than a dividend. The cooperative model proves that scaling can successfully prioritize the needs of a community over the demands of a stock market. A moment of wonder. What if you want to build an enterprise that outlives the people who started it? That requires the joint stock company. Governed by the Companies Act of 1956, this is the primary engine for large-scale global business. The core of this structure is a legal fiction, the creation of an artificial person. The law treats the company as a separate entity from its owners, giving it its own legal identity and a common seal to sign its own contracts. This separation allows for perpetual succession. Because the company exists independently of its members, it continues to operate regardless of who dies, retires, or sells their shares. This scale is managed by dividing ownership from operation. The shareholders are the owners, but they elect a board of directors to represent them and manage the company's daily affairs. The potential for growth here depends on the type of company. A private company is limited to 50 members, but a public company has no maximum limit at all. By legally divorcing the business from human mortality and establishing a separate legal identity, the joint stock company allows for a massive accumulation of capital and a lifespan that can span centuries. These 5 structures form a spectrum of how we organize human effort. It ranges from the absolute personal risk of the individual proprietor to the vast distributed resources of a public corporation. It also encodes our different motives, whether that is the preservation of a family legacy in the Huff, the community focus of a cooperative, or the profit-driven expansion of a partnership. These legal frameworks are the blueprints of the global economy. They are the essential architecture that determines how commerce scales, how it survives, and how it shapes the world.